So part 2 today of the Alfie camera, and I'm going to give you first a tip and then show you some side-by-side examples. One thing that I like about this camera is that the turret on the front has a 46 millimeter filter thread. What that means is if I'm in environments that are a little bit damp or environments where maybe it's really dusty, it's possible, as I did here, to screw in a 46 millimeter UV filter. This is a B+W MRC. I highly recommend using a pretty good filter for this, screwing it in to protect that pinhole and that zone plate in those type of environments. There's nothing worse than having your pinhole become compromised because of moisture or dust. Additionally, because this is an MRC multi-coated, really high quality filter, it will actually enhance the contrast and the quality of the image taking between the meniscus lens and the high quality lens. So that's really great. Also, if you're like me and you don't like taking lens caps on and off, this is great. I can toss it in my bag like this, pull it out, shoot, and I'm ready to go. And by the way, I did do a test comparing with and without the MRC in like a backlit type subject. I like flare. I like images that sort of get a little bit crazy with a hard contrast, and it didn't affect that as much as I thought it would. So let's take a look at a sample image here. This is a side-by-side sample image that you're seeing that shows the difference between the meniscus lens and the high-quality lens. The subject, which is my potting barn and my garden, are probably a solid 25 feet away. And you can see what a huge difference it is. The meniscus lens, which is a plastic, point and shoot, disposable camera quality lens, is really beautiful. It has this beautiful soft glow. But it does not have the resolving power or the clarity, nowhere even close to what the high quality lens produces. What's nice is you have the choice of doing either one. So, really take a look at the contrast, take a look at the detail, and these are the kind of things that whenever I start working with a new camera, I like to shoot lots of different scenarios so I can learn the different ways that the different lenses are going to render to help make me make better work. So the second image that we're seeing here is a quick portrait that I did of my wife in our basement. Now, once again, both of these images were shot shooting Ferrani P30, which is basically a 50/80 speed film, so it's quite slow. I processed it in Diafine Developer, and I think it's actually quite beautiful. This was handheld with the meniscus lens, and the exposure was something like a second or 2 seconds long. Because there's no mirror or moving parts really in the camera outside of the shutter opening and closing, there's very little to no vibration. I'm definitely near the close focus point for the camera, but I think it has a really beautiful quality. So that also brings me to my final point, which is exactly how much depth of field do you get out of this camera when you're working with the meniscus lens and the high quality lens? The lenses, I did a test, and what I found is that there is depth of field reasonably good at 1.5 meters or around 5 feet. The focus on the camera seems to be set somewhere between 9 and 11 feet. So it really is like a great street photographer walking camera. If you think about it, because this is a half frame camera, that 30 millimeter lens and that 33 millimeter lens on your 35 millimeter camera, your full frame camera, would be like a 50. So this is like walking around with a 50 millimeter lens. That's what you're sort of seeing in terms of the way the lens captures what's in front of you. And that's basically close to like what human vision is, somewhere around a 43 to 47, but a 50 is pretty much what most people accept. So that's kind of great. And if you think about it, the minimum focusing distance covered through depth of field, once again, it is a fixed focus camera, of let's say 5 feet, is decent if you're walking around on the street. And it's interesting that they chose f8. Anybody remembers, your classic street journalism days, back line of f8 and be there, put your camera on f8, set your focus range, and focus on your subject and stop focusing on the camera. It's very much what this does. So I hope you enjoyed the 2 sample photos. There'll be many more to come, and I'm really excited to get into the menu system on this camera and just all the flexibility that it has. Thank you very much for listening. Now go shoot some film.